Anybody get anything over the weekend? Xander, what'd you get?
$60.
$60 off. Get up for Xander. Well, anybody else? All right. So I'm going to go over some of this mindset, and then Shaq's going to come up and talk about how to get commitments for getting people to training, which is something that obviously we need to improve, right? You guys are great at showing up every single time, right? What we want is we want that compounding effect. So that's what Shaq's going to talk about, how to get people to get other people to show up, right? So let's talk about managing yourself. Look, every self-improvement book I read from the beginning told me that this was going to be the difference between people who are going to win and people who are not. When you are in business, you got to learn how to manage yourself. And managing yourself is obviously difficult. That's why most people can't be self-employed, but you got to choose your hard in life. Yes, it's hard to manage yourself. Yes, it's hard to be disciplined, but it's also hard to have a boss. It's also hard to be underpaid. It's also hard to work for someone else. It's also hard for someone else to tell you when you should be working, when you can have a day off. So everything is difficult. So I chose this route. Not because it was easier, but because I knew that the other option was also difficult. But you got to get amazing at managing yourself. And what happens is, and I can say this now that I've been here for a while, is everything you have to think about in the beginning. Like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? Is this a better decision or is this a better decision? I'm used to doing this, but they're telling me I should do that. And you have to consciously make the right decision. And then, when you get older and you get more experience, then it becomes innate. That it's just something that's in you. You're going to be a better decision maker. You're going to do the right thing. You're going to do the most efficient thing. You're going to do the thing that helps you reach your goals, that moves you in the direction to what you want to accomplish, right? But in the beginning, it is a struggle because that's not where a lot of us came from. That's not what the people around us are doing. They're not talking about managing yourself. Everybody wants to have fun. Everybody wants the shortcuts. Everybody wants to talk about the weekends. Everybody wants to have time off and evenings off, right? That's just not the world that we are in. The entrepreneur life is very, very different, right? So excess freedom is not always a positive. People think, man, if I didn't have a job and I didn't have kids, and I didn't have XYZ, and I just had more time, and I could be full-time, that I would do a lot better here. More time is not the answer. It's what you do in your time. What can you do, right? It's not about the hours. It's a huge cliche, right? Old cliche. It's not the hours, it's what you put into the hours. So you can have someone part-time that works 5 to 7 p.m. on their Primerica business, 2 hours a day, and they can outproduce someone who is 100% full-time and has all the time in the world and no kids. Because what are you putting into the hours? People take advantage of the Primerica freedom, that they can technically come in whenever they want, that they can take a 2-hour lunch break, and maybe nobody will know. Or you can scroll online and no one's going to see you, or no one's going to say anything, or you can take random inbound phone calls from people that have nothing to do with business. And they think of everything that needs to be done over what they're supposed to be doing in a workday, right? The excess freedom is working against them. So just thinking, if I had more time, that is not the answer. It's what you're doing in the time. That's why we say to people, right? People say, hey, should I go full time? You gotta aim to be a great part-timer before you're a great full-timer. There's no excuse to be doing 0 by 0, 1 by 1, and then thinking, oh man, if I just didn't have a job, I'd be doing 10 by 10. No, you wouldn't. You gotta get better at doing the nasties, doing the things you don't wanna do, right? Doing that, going through that grind in the time that you do have. There's a reason why jobs work, right? They work for the employer. Jobs do work for the employer because they mandate certain things on people. They demand your time. They demand you ask permission. They demand that you accept where you are. Jobs do work for employers, but you have to be your own boss. And some of us, we're not good bosses to ourselves. We're too nice. Right? We're too liberal of a boss to ourselves. And we accept too many excuses, you know? So habits are everything. Shaq talks about this all the time. How you do some things is how you do everything. How do you know what, how would somebody describe you in our office? How would your friends describe you? How would your family describe you? It's okay, whatever the answer is, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it, but you should make a list of what you want to be described as, and you should work towards becoming that person. And that's different for different people. For some of you, you want to be known as the person with the best personality, right? Or maybe the best social life. Or whatever. Obviously, you guys know I have different things I want to be described as that I work towards. People think I'm very disciplined. People think I'm very serious. Now, is that fun? Right? Am I going to be invited to all the parties because people think I'm disciplined and serious and I go to bed on time and I wake up really early and I read books? I'm not the life of the party. Everyone's different. That doesn't make me better than someone else. Sometimes I wish I had those other character traits, to be honest. But you got to figure out who you want to be and you got to work towards that, right? So when it comes to your Primerica business, how would someone describe you? How do you, if how you do some things is how you do everything, how do you work? How diligent are you? How disciplined are you? How on schedule are you? How would people describe you? Losers think that the small things don't matter. Winners know that the small things matter. You know, people say, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. I'm not even being specific. I'm just telling you, it is a big deal. Coming late is a big deal. Not taking notes is a big deal. Not setting a great example is a big deal. Not reading every day is a big deal. Getting in fights with people is a big deal. Not being coachable is a big deal. Not showing up is a big deal. It is a big deal. And once you can tell yourself that the small things are a big deal and you can accept responsibility, that's when things will start to change. But when some things are not a big deal and some things are, and there's too many gray areas, you make too many excuses, that's when you start going the wrong direction. Coming on time, waking up early, being on a routine, especially with your schedule, especially with work, you have to build up to this stuff, man. You know, Shaq, if you were in our office, which maybe, I don't know, Dante, Gabe, probably the only ones, Tanya, maybe a little bit, Peter, you were experienced that. I don't know who else, right? When we were really young and Shaq was the leader of our team, Gabe is laughing, he wasn't nice. He was actually beyond mean. There's whatever that word is. But it's because he was huge on making sure that we were on a routine, whether we liked it or not. You could never be late. You had to be on the phones for 3 hours. You couldn't be talking about BS. You had to be on it. You had to be intense. You had to be winning. You had to be putting in activity. And he scared us into it, right? Pressured us into it. But now it's ingrained. All of these things. We were not casual about the business. There's a saying, if you're casual, you become a casualty. And you have to habitually think positive. I was reading yesterday and in this book, and it was talking about a positive mental attitude, right? And sometimes I think, man, I already know this stuff already, and I do know these things. But sometimes you read something and it kind of changes the way even you think about something you already know. And it said that a positive mental attitude affects the tone of your voice. It affects your posture. It affects your personality. It affects how you look at people. It affects every single thought that goes through your mind. It affects every word that you use. And I thought about that. I was like, that's so true, right? People who are positive, they're not going to be smiley and upbeat and have their shoulders back, right? And walk up and want to shake someone's hand. They're always thinking about what's wrong. What's wrong with their situation? What's wrong with even good things that are going on? What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with people? Mm-hmm. You have to develop a positive mental attitude. Develop it. Just because you're in this room and even if you're making money doesn't mean that you have that. I can always get better at that. Everyone in here can get better at that. I was talking to, Anisha, who's my wife, and then my mom yesterday. And sometimes I just tune out, I'm doing my own thing, and they're just talking, right? And I'm listening to what they're saying, and she's like, yeah, well, Samir wouldn't want, because my siblings, each one of them, they're all very educated, they're all have high income potential, right? But they just have issues. And so one of my siblings, they were talking about would Samir ever let him live in the house. And, my Anisha was saying, no, because he cares about his stuff, and this guy's really messy, and we would never let him, live there. And then so they were just having this conversation back and forth, yeah, that's how he is, blah, 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 right? And so I think I was watching the soccer game on my phone, and then I interjected, and I was like, no, that's actually not the reason. You can get more stuff. And I live in a 4-bedroom townhouse, and we only occupy one. I have rooms and I have extra bathrooms, and that's not the issue. The reason why I wouldn't let certain people live around me, including him or many other people, is because I protect my mind. Yes. That's why. And I'll tell you exactly what I said just yesterday to my mom and my wife. I said, I don't like small talk. And I don't like linger and hang out, and you know what I mean? Even when I go out to dinner with people, when dinner's over, I'm gone. As soon as the second that the party is dying down, I'm gone. When things are done, I'm done. That's the way I am. It doesn't make me a better person. Actually, most people don't like that. But that's the way I am. I don't want to talk about things that don't have any value, that aren't moving me forward. I don't want to talk about what normal and average people are talking about. I don't want to talk about small things. And I definitely don't want to talk about other people, which is what most conversations devolve into. That's the complete opposite of a positive mental attitude. Right? Now, people in your family, it's not like you guys, right? You might like hearing stuff like this, maybe some of you, right? Your family members don't like this shit, right? And it's like, oh, well, it's your siblings and it's your family and blah, blah, blah. I know Josh hears this stuff all the time, but I don't know. I've just been programmed this way. I have to protect my mind for you guys, for my business, for myself, for my emotional health. We don't talk about this enough anymore because so many of us are veterans, but you can't be around people that are freaking negative, man. Literally, my brother will say, I hate money, I hate the government, I hate rich people, I hate everything.
Yeah.
Right? But they'll take money in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And they'll live, at 40 years old in my mom's house and not pay rent. I'm saying these things not because I'm divulging private information. We all know people like this. Some of y'all, it's your kids. Or it's like me, your siblings. People are out there in the world. Does that make me better than my brother? No, it doesn't. It just makes me different. And I'm going a different direction. Maybe I'll have different struggles than him. It doesn't make right or wrong, but I can't mix with that. And I never want to. Right? That's how, and you know why? I hear people in Primerica speeches, and I know they're talking about their dad, and I know they're talking about their brother, and they change the relationship so they don't feel like they're divulging their family, business. The reason I'm saying it's my brother and I'm talking to my mom and my wife is so you know the seriousness of this. If I just say a guy I know, that's just a guy I know. I'm telling you my own brother is like this. And I have to monitor how much exposure I can get to that. You guys with me?
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing that. It's not because I'm a dickhead and I just want to talk shit about my family. It's not that.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that. Let's go next. Right? Managing yourself. Activity. Getting started early. In what world is an entrepreneur getting their day started at 11 a.m., at 10:30 a.m.? You know, one time I'll never forget this. I had a field training appointment. I had to go to the guy's. He was always at work. I had to go to his piano studio. He's a very well-known piano teacher in Ashburn. That's his business. Musician, piano teacher, teaching kids. And I went there and I sat down with him, and he had a little bookshelf and it had some of the same books that I've read. And I was like, oh man, I've read that, I love this, I love that you read. And he said, yeah, you know, the thing is that now I have 2 small kids under 5 and I just don't have as much time to read. So I was like, oh, so you're not able to read anymore? He goes, no, I'm able to read. Now I just, you know, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. so I can still read. And then I do what I need to do, and then I get here by 8:30. People find the time. They make the time. Right? But in Primerica, we think of every other thing. Because what happens is when you're full-time in the business, you think, 2 to 3 hours of calls will yield me big-time dividends and results. And that is true. So what people do is they slide that, they think in their mind they can slide that time down. Well, it's just 3 hours, 9 to 12. What's the difference to do 11 to 2? No, because you get a lot more calls 11 to 2 than you would. There's a lot different distractions 11 to 2 than 9 to 12. That's why when you read, and half the stuff, who knows if it's even true, but celebrities and famous people, online influencers, will be like, I wake up at 4 o'clock. And one of the reasons why you hear them waking up at 4 is they say, that's the only time my phone doesn't ring. There's way more temptations later in the day than earlier in the day. And what's going to drive your business and your success is these few hours of reaching out to people for appointments and to be a recruit. That's what's going to change your business. And if you're compromising that and then you never get to it, or it's a distracted 3 hours, or it's a fragmented 3 hours, or that 3 hours is cut short and now it's an hour and a half, you got to get your day started very, very early. That's the main thing. Brian Tracy, he has a book. It's called Eat That Frog. Right? The thing that is the least appetizing, you have to do it first. You got to get it out of the way. That's the mindset you got to have, right? No one is saying making calls is that much fun, or that's the easiest thing to do. It's the least appetizing of all the different things that we could be doing. That's why you got to do it first, and you got to get it out of the way. And the people that exert that type of discipline, right, they're going to be really successful. Being consistent. Challenge yourself. Shaq used to have a calendar, and he would mark how many days he had a win, right? So I think Jerry Seinfeld did this back in the day. Every day he would write a joke, he would mark an X, and how many days he would try to do in a row. You got to challenge yourself. People do that with the gym. People do that with their diet. That's awesome. You got to do it with your activity too. You have to be consistent. Bruce says, if it's not consistent, it's garbage. Those are his words. Prospecting, we always talk about that. Creating positive expectations. When you work, expect results, because you deserve results. Other people aren't willing to work for 3 hours. Other people aren't willing to make those calls. Other people aren't willing to get rejected. Other people aren't willing to stay focused. Right? You deserve success. What we're offering is awesome. Whether it's the products or the opportunity, you deserve it. Good things are going to happen when you work. Don't work robotically. Don't work and subconsciously think that people don't want to do this, or you're not getting results, or it's not going to work, or how long have I been here? Those are negative thoughts. If you get on the phone, I'm telling you, you're gonna find your next amazing person. You're gonna find that next amazing client. That's how you gotta work, expecting great results. Managing self and distractions, right? Distractions lead to your destruction. That's from Hector Lamar. Now there's more distractions than ever, right? I don't know, what do you gotta do? You gotta turn the notifications off on your phone. You gotta make sure that, tell yourself, I'm not gonna check social media, I'm not gonna check my texts, I'm only gonna make these phone calls or whatever it is that you're doing to prospect. But you have to manage that. Being around the wrong people, I just talked about that. The wrong things, the reason why we do the wrong things and we get distracted is because, of course, the wrong things feel better and they're easier. It's easier to see that phone call coming in, no, this is no way this phone call is going to be under 30 minutes, it has nothing to do with business, and now let me walk outside and take this call. It's so easy. Feels better to scroll social media, it feels better to watch a YouTube video. Some people 9 to 12, I mean, Shaq and I have been doing this for a long time, we've had a lot of people. It's like, you walk in, they're reading a book. What are you doing? Oh man, self-improvement. When it's time to work, you gotta work. It's not time to read. Reading is 5, 6, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. maybe, right? Or people prefer reading in the evening. You don't read during work time. You gotta work. You gotta create work. You gotta find work. You gotta find numbers. You gotta get on the phone. You gotta improve your skills. And of course, self-improvement, right? Reading, listening to books, goal setting. It's just everything, man. I see, I was talking to Xander the other day in the car. I was thinking about, me just watching these guys, how they work and what they do at the office every day. And you see on social media, come join this opportunity, and someone is already making $30,000 a month. Like they join something, and this is 1 out of 1,000, but it does happen to some people. They join something that's making money right away. And I see that versus these guys, where it's like making $1,000 was a struggle. Then making $5,000 was a struggle. Then eventually they'll make $10,000, and they'll make $20,000, and they'll make $30,000. And maybe it'll take 6, 7, 8 years. But it's what Primerica builds us into, I think, is very, very unique. It may actually, with all the things in the world, maybe it is a little bit slower income opportunity if you just isolate that. But if he comes in the business and all of a sudden he's making 20 grand a month, right? Like Sheila, you're a mom. Is that healthy for someone to come in at 18 years old, they're just making 20 grand a month? No, it's not. He has to learn how to manage money. He has to learn how to get along with people. He has to feel that pinch of what it's like to not have enough money, so when he does have it, he's careful with it. And he values it. Right? He does have to learn, if I don't do the right things with my clients, or I write up the wrong clients, this money's coming back, and what are the right types of clients, and how can I get into those markets? And hey, I'm not able to keep these people, who do I need to become so they'll follow me, and I can keep these people around, I can grow my attendance. It's like, Primerica builds us into straight up monsters. Mm-hmm. When you look at the people who succeed here, who have been around for a while. And it's all this self-improvement, but it's also the process, what it does to you. How it just chips away at your insecurities. And it just makes you so strong. That's the biggest gift that the company has given me, is who it's helped me become. I tell you all the time, all the circles that I'm in or whatever, it's all because the way I'm able to speak to people, get along with people, make friendships, build relationships, right? Get these people as clients, maintain my client base, attract people. It's all from the things that, the process of going through this, like what it's built me into. I'm not saying you can't find some opportunity where you can make more money faster and in a different way, but is that going to be best for you, the person? There's people out there that make 20 grand a month, they're so bad at money that they're spending 30 grand a month, even though they're making 20 grand a month. You know that's what debt is, right? You're spending even more than you make. People that make $250,000 a year have debt. How could that be? It's because even that is not enough, because you're just not there mentally to be able to not just, making money is one thing, keeping money, managing the money. I think that's the last one, right? All right, Shaq, you ready? All right, you're over, Shaq.